Most reporting policies have a minimum. So if I'm paying $6,000 a truck and they have a 90% minimum in the policy quote that I get, no matter how low my miles go, or no matter how low my revenue goes, you're going to be paying $5,400, which is 90% of the $6,000 based on the quote you got. So they take 90% of the, and let's go back to 30 trucks, right? That's where we started. If you start with 9 million, 90% of 9 million is 8.1. I don't care how small you get, you will be paying 8.1. If you have to shrink to 15 trucks, even though your revenue is only 4 million, I'm sorry, you're still going to pay 8.1 million in revenue. Okay. Now let's say I'm running 3 million miles and that's my quote off 30 trucks. And I'm on a mileage report and I shrink my company because of a bad market or I lost a customer and I go to 15 trucks from 30. See this 2.7 million miles? You'd think you could pay 1.35, half of it. You can't. No matter what, if you start with 30 trucks at 100,000 miles and they give you a quote for 3 million, you will be paying 90% of this number, meaning 5,400. So remember this 5,400 number and see what happens with composite auto when I go to 15 trucks. 5,400 is what you're paying no matter how much you shrink on mileage or revenue. So if I go to 15 trucks, I'm only going to be paying, I'm only going to be paying 15 trucks times $6,000, which is 90,000. When I had 30 trucks and the minimum, my minimum is 162. So here, I'm going to go back so I'm not confusing people. 90% minimum of 9 million is 8.1. 90% minimum of 3 million is 2.7. At the rate you were quoted, you're going to be paying 162,000 no matter how much you shrink, okay? Which is going to be 5,400 a truck, but you're going to pay 162,000 no matter what, right? However, if you shrink, remember the 162,000 right here, 162. If you shrink to 15 trucks, oops, let me see here. If you shrink to 15 trucks because of the market, you will only be paying 90,000 here, but this is still going to be 162. I don't have my spreadsheet set up that way. Remember I said, this is going to be 162 off 30 trucks. So if you have if you have 30 trucks, 90% of this 180,000 is 162. That's what you're paying. If you were on a composite, you would still pay 6,000 a truck, but it would only be times 15 trucks, would be 90,000. Given the market conditions, are you prepared to make sure you don't shrink more than 10%? You start with 100 trucks, you can't go down less than 90. You start with 200 trucks, you better not go down less than 180. You start with 50 trucks, you better stay at 45 or more. Anything more than that, and you're likely to be paying more per truck than you would have if you just went on a composite auto. So in this market right now, what's your safest bet on a reporting policy? Likely composite auto. Why? Because you're only going to pay for as many trucks as you run, and there's no minimum. See how I have a minimum here for revenue and mileage? There's no minimum for composite auto. I could go down to 5 trucks, and this could be 30,000, but this is going to stay at 162 because this does not shrink. It stays at 30 trucks. So if you start with 30 trucks and you have these minimums, you're paying 162 no matter what. If you go down to 5 trucks with composite, you're only going to pay 30, and this is going to stay at 162. So if you think there's any chance of shrinking more than 10% in the next 12 months after your renewal, given the market right now, you better not do a revenue or a mileage. You better do a composite or a schedule. The problem is if you do scheduled and you don't add or delete a vehicle, you're in trouble. You do composite, you don't have to add and delete the vehicles. You just have to report them monthly, right? And it's any auto. So if you have something in between. Now, another one that's interesting is, let's say I started with 30 and I grew to 60. Well, then my premium would be 160,000 based on the 60 trucks, $3 a mile at 100,000 miles a truck. But there are some composite auto policies. If I start at 30 and end at 60, I only pay for 45 trucks, which means I'm going to actually get back about 100 grand of this because I use the audit to my advantage. If you think you're going to grow right after renewal by 20 or 30 trucks, a composite auto where you report beginning and end is a very nice option. Vice versa. If you start with 30 trucks and immediately go down to 10, you're going to pay 30 for the whole year, and you're still going to pay for 15 when you only had 10. So you don't want to be on a yearly audit with a composite if you're going to shrink. You want to be on a monthly audit with a composite if you think there's a possibility you're going to shrink.
Are you ready to win at the game called trucking? Then you need to watch this entire video. John Seidel here. I used to be a DOT inspector, FMCSA investigator, hazmat agent, and an Army veteran. And I've discovered what I call Trucking Wins Method, where you can win at the game called trucking, even in a recession. Why would I show you this method? Because I'm sick and tired of the government putting you down and holding you back. It's sad, but I remember auditing a family-owned trucking company and giving them a bad conditional rating, $50,000 fine, and other violations. Now, I knew it wasn't my job to help them, but I also knew that they would likely go bankrupt or lose major customers if I didn't help them. So I sat down with the owners and explained what they did wrong and what they needed to do to make it right. Then I spent the next 12 months meeting with them, coaching them through the Trucking Wins Method. After a lot of hard work on both sides, the company came back stronger than ever from that conditional rating, got their $50,000 fine removed, lowered their insurance rates over time by 60%. That company is still profitable today, and I consider them great friends, and they owe it to the Trucking Wins Method. It's just one example. I have trucking clients and customers all over the country, and they're all profitable, even during recessions, because they follow this Trucking Wins Method. And I'm going to teach you this method during a free online event you can attend, and all you got to do is click the button on your screen. Lower your insurance rates, pass your inspections, lower your CSA scores, increase profits. That's what everybody wants. All you got to do is click on the button. We'll see you there.